Forgotten Mists of Bridlewood, Chapter 6, Into the Past, Part 2. Bridlewood's Elder Keeper stared dumbfounded down at the new and old photographs of Sunset's newest students, 20 years apart.
By the gods, after all these years.
Portfolio mused, adjusting his glasses.
When did she come to you?
At the end of last week. She came into the school and asked if there were any more spots available. I squeezed her into the evening class.
Sunset answered.
I've got to speak with her.
Portfolio said immediately.
Whoa, not so fast. She vanishes from her backyard without a trace and shows up out of the blue just after I open the school. I don't think this is the time for all the "where have you been" questions. Why not?
Izzy asked.
Well, she barely has any magical ability. The address she gave me for her student file doesn't exist. I think something's up. She must have relatives in the area. Where do her parents live?
Sunset asked. Portfolio's expression went from shocked to sorrowful.
She was their only child. When she disappeared, they kept hoping she would be found. When weeks turned to months and into years, they couldn't deal with the grief forever. They passed some time ago.
Portfolio informed her.
What is it, Sunset?
Izzy asked, when she saw the look of uncertainty and worry on the unicorn's face.
Something Sunny told me before I came here. About how now that the magic is back, threats that want to exploit that magic probably won't be far behind.
Sunset replied. Portfolio's eyes widened.
Now, I'm not saying for certain that this is the case here. I'm not going to jump to conclusions like that. But I am saying we should be wary and not overplay our hand. Based upon the age she vanished, she might not remember much. But right now, I have no idea where she's going at night because, as I said, the address in her file doesn't exist.
So, what do we do?
Portfolio asked. Sunset gave a sigh of resignation.
If I was still a Candlelit High, I'd ask for my friends to cover for me while I put all my effort into getting to the bottom of this. But the fact is, I don't have that luxury anymore. I have a school and students to worry about, and without a doubt, Sunny is going to come by sooner or later asking about the new magic that Earth Ponies have. So, for now, let's just keep an eye on her.
Seemingly satisfied, Izzy turned and began to make her way back up to the ground level, no doubt eager to start work on her scooter project.
Portfolio. Her parents' house. Do you have an address? Who took it over when they died?
Sunset asked, once Izzy had started descending the stairs behind her.
No one, I'm afraid. The property has likely fallen into disrepair. Izzy's not the only one to live in seclusion. It's likely quite grown over by now, and will likely be that much harder to spot. But, yes, I can point you in the right direction.
The record-keeping unicorn spent another few minutes looking up the location of what Sunset was after, as there were many paths that snaked off into the forest, until they weren't really paths anymore. With that, he unfolded a map, put a mark on it, and slid it over to Sunset.
There you are, Miss Shimmer. I am glad Bridlewood is slowly getting over our superstitions. Months ago, no one would dare disturb a site like that. I hope your suspicions about her are wrong, though. To think that she was taken at such a young age just to get involved with something nefarious, that doesn't sit well with me.
Portfolio told her.
Nor me, but don't worry. I'm going to try my best to get to the bottom of this. If there is something to get to the bottom of. Thank you very much, Portfolio. Have a pleasant evening.
With that, Sunset made her way to the top of the stairs and found Izzy waiting just outside.
So, what now?
Izzy asked.
This is a lot to think about, and I'm honestly still stumbling around in the dark. Probably shouldn't do anything more this evening, or I'll be literally stumbling around in the dark. We've got the rest of this week's classes, and then a weekend coming up, and I did promise you some one-on-one instruction. I might as well start with the defensive spells you missed this morning. I'll swing by tomorrow after breakfast, because I know you've been wanting to get started on that scooter of yours too. And you know, I might be able to help with that.
Izzy's smile widened, but then Sunset's phone started to go off in her saddlebags. She lit up her horn, lifted the flap, and pulled her phone out. She swiped her hoof across the screen to see a text alert.
Hey, it's Sunny. Just wanted to let you know that we'll be stopping by Bridlewood in a few days. We're on our way up to the Crystal Empire again to get another load of books. But we'll be stopping by to rest and visit. Please let us know if you want to tag along.
Sunset smiled softly at her phone.
Looks like it's going to be quite the busy weekend, too. So, go get some rest, and I'll see you when the morning is.
Sunset told her friend. Izzy waved goodbye before she headed down south back towards her house on the edge of town, while Sunset headed back towards the renovated schoolhouse. The crystals on the edges of the path began to glow dimly in the darkening ambience of the forest. Arriving back at the schoolhouse, she went inside before locking the doors and headed towards the back where she had made her combination bedroom/office. She pulled her phone out and gave a quick reply to Sunny.
We'll keep an eye out. Looking forward to seeing you again.
With that, she placed the phone on the charging pad and hung her saddlebags on the chair next to the oak desk, digging out the map Portfolio had given her. She pinned it to the bulletin board she had hung over her desk, next to a calendar and lesson plan for the month. Portfolio was right. Misty was a sweet mare, and Sunset hated to think that she was caught up in something malevolent. She thought back to her confrontation with Twilight in the middle of the friendship games, and that was the primary factor keeping her from attempting to find wherever Misty was outside of class, and start interrogating her about her intentions. And if it was something with ill intentions, Sunset wasn't sure she was completely prepared for that yet either. She thought back to all the problems she had to solve in and around Canterlot High. Most of them had been people who had stumbled upon equestrian magic and had absolutely no idea what they were getting into. As she fell into bed after shutting off the lights, she felt a stinging in her chest. She remembered that the only true sources of magical malevolence they had faced over there had been the sirens, and herself. Chapter 7. Scooter. Sunset sat reclined in a lawn chair outside of Izzy's house, watching as her protege, armed with a new magical masking spell, apply coats of paint remover to the scooter she had brought back to her home. Before she worked on anything mechanical, she wanted to get all the chipped and dull paint off and ready to apply a fresh coat when everything was up and running.
This spell is amazing!
Izzy told her teacher, as she continued wiping the acetone-soaked rag across the vehicle.
I don't breathe in any fumes and no weight to the mask!
Again, it's all you, Izzy. You sure picked it up awfully fast. For a lot of ponies, their emotions boost their magical ability. So, you must really be looking forward to getting this thing restored.
Sunset replied.
You can say that again.
So, what did you do before you took that trip to Maritime Bay?
Sunset asked.
Pretty much what I want to do with the scooter. Fix, restore, and renew knickknacks of unicorns around the forest.
That was how you made a living?
Sunset asked.
If you can call it that.
Izzy replied. For as often as she tried, Sunset couldn't imagine life in Bridlewood before reunification. A unicorn village without magic, and absolutely full of superstition.
So what made you want to go to Maritime Bay? From what Sunny tells me, that's what set off the chain of events that led to Equestria becoming reunited.
Sunset asked.
She had launched a small weather balloon with her dad when she was little. An invitation for Pegasi and unicorns to come to Maritime Bay. It drifted into Bridlewood when I was staying with Alphabittle. When I showed it to him, he warned me about leaving the forest, but it never really left my mind that there were other ponies out there, wanting to meet unicorns and Pegasi.
Sunset had made a mental note of Izzy never really mentioning her parents. Alphabittle had always been the caretaker in her stories of when she was younger. She had never really mentioned her parents or ever told her about any siblings. She didn't want to assume anything, and wasn't sure how sensitive a subject it was. But she was fairly certain that Izzy Moonbow was an orphan.
So, if you knew back then that it was only Sunny who had sent the invitation, and that the rest of Maritime Bay were scared to death of unicorns, would you still have gone there?
Izzy seemed to think about the question for a few moments as she continued wiping down the scooter.
Yeah, I think so. Don't forget, we had tales about earth ponies and Pegasi that were just as tall as the ones the other tribes had about us. So even though I initially thought it was a town of smelly, simple-minded earth ponies, I went anyway. I wanted friends, no matter what their flaws were. I was more afraid of the Pegasi than the earth ponies because back then, we thought they could take our sparkle.
Sunset smiled at the answer as she checked her phone for the time.
Well, I've got to go get ready for this water fight that the first class wants. A great way to test projectile magic, defensive magic, and have a bit of fun while we're at it. Then, an even more important matter.
With that, Sunset left Izzy with her pet project. She returned downtown to the school, where her first class of the day had just finished settling in.
All right, good morning, class. Now, before I get you divided into teams for the water fight, I have a very important question for you all.
Sunset paused as she walked between the tables to her front desk.
Who is interested in going on a field trip to the Crystal Empire?
Aw man, water balloon fights are so fun. And I wouldn't mind having those again. Anywho, let's get on to our fun donators. Top donators: Jessie Smith, Star630, BadassWaffle, Only One Thing, Ceru, Orion, and IronSky. Metric 109, JockeTF, Darkside, Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel, Sky, Alistair, Rolan, Stu Hex, Orbiter, Mordred, Omicron, Light, Ribbon, Side 9052, Will, Chris Winky, Right Soul, Shadow, Moon, Luigi, 88, Chancer Quest, Big Smoke 369, Bobcat, GG, Murder, Princess, and many more awesome people. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Live life to the fullest.